Good afternoon. Welcome to TED Talks. Our speaker this afternoon comes to us with a very unique background and a distinguished career in the Air Force, from being a pilot to being a flight instructor, on to 312 missions in combat, on to becoming a marketing director for McDonnell Douglas and in the private sector defense systems. This is kind of a story that has a chapter, and this chapter is going to be presented to you. And I'd like to introduce to you now Colonel Bell Wells. Bell?
How many of you recognize the introduction? A couple of you.
Do we need a microphone?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Need a spotlight too, right?
Can't hear me in the back? You can now. Okay.
You're good, you're good.
I thought this would be a good time to honor one of our fine generals of World War II, General Patton. And so that's where this came from. My next question is, how many of you have been to Vietnam?
Just over
Quite
it.
a few. How many of the spouses have had, or the women have had your spouses go to Vietnam? Okay. Should have some pretty good representation, and everybody knows where Vietnam is, or most of you. I have a little map here of Vietnam. This is South Vietnam here. You get up in here, you're into North Vietnam, which is all one now. There is no North and South Vietnam. But Cam Ranh Bay is down here, which is where I was stationed. Cambodia is over here. Laos is up in here. And then Thailand is over here. And I flew missions everywhere in South Vietnam and in Route Pack 1 and 2 in North Vietnam, and in several places in Laos. So, 1 year tour, and as Mike said, 312 missions in a year, so it was busy. We're going to go ahead and get on with it. First of all, I was an instructor at Vance Air Force Base in Enid, Oklahoma, when I got my assignment to go to Vietnam. The first thing I had to do was go to survival school in Fairchild Air Force Base in Washington. That was about a week. And then from Washington, I went down to Tampa, Florida to check out the F4, and that was about 3 months. So it was a fairly long process to get qualified to go into war. We all gathered at Travis Air Force Base in California and took our first hop to the Philippines, and we went to another jungle survival. Can you see all right? You can move over a little bit if you need to, if you can see. We had about 1 week at jungle survival at Clark, and that was our classroom. This was a picture of one of the booby traps that they showed us. They had several different kinds, and the purpose of this was, if we ever had to jump out of an airplane and escape from the enemy, you had to be aware of what could be on the ground after you got on the ground station. These guys are what we affectionately call the Negritos. They're the local tribe.
Bill, we can't hear back here, Bill.
What?
We can't hear back here.
All right.
Very good.
We went out into the jungle and spent a couple of nights, and the second night we did an escape and evasion type thing where they took us out somewhere out in the jungle, and we all tried to find good hiding places, and these guys here would find us. We had a chip, and if they found us, we had to give them the chip. None of us came back with a chip. They found us. Here we are resting up, getting ready to go to leave the jungle and go back to the base. And here's my first look at Rahn Bay. Pretty big airport. It's on the end of a peninsula, and I'll go into that a little bit more as we go along here. And everybody welcomes you in the Rahn Bay. I was lucky enough, oh, by the way, these pictures are a 35 millimeter camera, about so big. And so the pictures aren't probably the best quality, but they're good enough to see what you want to see. But anyway, caught the American flag, the Vietnamese flag, and 3 F-4s flying over. And we were processing in. And then I took some pictures of the base to show you what it was like. This is MASH Hospital, if you remember MASH. And one of our main streets. And this was where we lived when we arrived at Rahn Bay. And that Quonset hut was divided by plywood, pieces of plywood, and a single light bulb hanging down from the center. And you had crate boxes for your desk, and a rustic old closet. It was pretty bare, pretty barren. And then right in front of right here was our bunker in case we had a rocket attack. Down on the south end of the peninsula was where the Navy was stationed, and that's all their ships that were coming in and out of there, bringing us the supplies. And here's the Army. Sorry, Army guys. But they don't like to build anything there. Everything's tents and sand. And here we're back up around Rahn again, where there are more barracks. And yes, we did have electricity. Our outdoor theater. And now we get into the meat of the thing here. These are 750-pound bombs, and they're putting fuses on them. And the fuses they put in, depending upon what the order was, how it came down, they would either have the fuse set to instantaneously go off, so when the bomb hits the ground, it will immediately explode, or they can put a delay on it, so the bomb will penetrate and then go off, create a big hole. 250 pounders. Rocket pods. I don't remember how many rockets each pod held, something like around 17, I think. They were 2.75 inches and fairly long. Unfinned napalm, we dropped a lot of that. And one of the carriages there where they brought the bombs out to the airplanes, get them loaded. These are AIM-9 Sparrows that we carried. I never fired one in anger, but we carried them in all our missions. But these are radar guided missiles. So, and we did have a radar in the airplane. So, another picture of the unfinned napalm. And this is the Gatling gun. It's 20 millimeter. The shell is about that long and about the size of a 50-cent piece. And they put about, I think, it could carry about 1,600 of those. And they could fire it out in a matter of seconds.
Got a question?
Yes.
Right here. What aircraft is carrying those?
This is the C model,
F4.
the F4C,
Yeah.
and the D model could carry it as well.
Oh, so
What's the weight limit?
Now, the E model had its own internal gun. That came later. Any more? John?
I'll be glad to bring you a mic if anybody has a question.
Yeah. Okay, then here's a fully loaded airplane.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Just like to mention in the back seat there was a radar operator.
Yes. And in the F4, there were pilots.
There were navigators in the back seat.
As a matter of fact, I got, towards the end of my tour, I got a lot of backseat time, so I got to be pretty good with the radar. Any more? Okay. Fully loaded aircraft, and I was just gonna point out that, the F-4 empty was about 30,000 pounds, and fully loaded with gas and bombs was about 60,000 pounds. So, put a lot, doubled its weight. Aerial picture of the parking for the airplanes, and you'll notice they're in these, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. They're in these revetments, and the revetments are with kind of like, I guess, real heavy, thick aluminum, and then they're filled with sand.
Question.
So, when they
Question.
Yes.
What's a revetment?
What's a revetment? You're looking at a revetment right there. It's used to protect the aircraft. If we hit a rocket attack, it'll keep, you know, the rocket from damaging the whole darn flight line. So it contains the rocket. Getting ready for a mission. Okay, the front cockpit. A lot of conglomeration there, but you only use a few of those instruments at any one time, so it's not that bad. And the back seat, radar scope. And we had a cockpit, a stick in the back so the back seater could fly the airplane. And he had a throttle so he could do the stick in the throttle. The only thing there, he didn't have the drag chute and that kind of thing to land the airplane. He didn't have just quite everything he needed to land it. Me. Okay, now the next few pictures we're out on the alert pad. And here we had 8 F-4s on alert, and there were 4 two-ship formations, and each one of them had a different kind of ordnance on them. So depending upon what the emergency was, that type of airplane would be scrambled to answer the call for that emergency. These are the shacks. We put 2 crews in each of those shacks so that there were 4 shacks there. And I'm sitting there again. I get a lot of selfies. And here's a picture of the birds in the alert pad. And this next one here, the airplane is not on fire, but in order to get airborne in a hurry, we use cartridges to start the engine. And you just flip a switch, the cartridge ignites, starts the engine to spinning. We go from off to idle, and that gives you fuel in the engine and a spark, and the engine will gradually catch hold and go up to idle speed. And you can do that much quicker than using what we call a pollution unit, which you hook up the airplane and blow air into it to get the engine spinning, but that takes extra time. So the cart start was what we used all the time on alert. We're out on the alert pad getting armed. And now this is a different mission where we've got 4 airplanes getting armed up, getting ready to go on a mission. Nice formation, almost like the Blues.
Got a question.
Question, go ahead.
Did the Air Force know you had these pictures?
Don't think so.
Don't tell.
Yeah, don't ask, don't tell.
It's too late now.
Okay, on one of the missions, of course, we went up a little further north, so we had to take a little gas, and they had anchors there. You remember they used colors, right, for the anchors? Remember, did you do that?
We did a lot of refueling there.
Huh?
You get a lot of refueling, but I don't know the color scheme.
Yeah, they had like an orange anchor and all that whatever stuff. But anyway, by the color, we knew where the anchor was, and we could, go right to him, get our gas, and then head off on the mission. Close up of the boom, so you can see what that looks like. How I did all this, I don't know, I don't remember.
Does that extend from the fuel plane?
Will extend the full plane
Yeah,
to yours?
that's a KC 135,
yeah.
yeah.
They,
This part right here will retract.
Right.
And when you come up to the airplane, they'll extend it, and then you fly up, and then under here, under the belly of the airplane, there are director lights that tell you whether you need to go up, down, forward, back. And it's, because as you can see, the pilot cannot see where that boom is, where the receptacle is. So they have those director lights up there which guide you to a position where you're green on green, and then you just hold that position, and then the airman up there stabs you with the boom.
Yeah, he do.
Normally, how long did it take to refuel?
Not long. They pass gas at a fairly fast rate, so maybe 10 minutes, something like that. Not long. Faster than you can charge an EV.
I heard that.
Hey, Bill,
Yes.
where were those KC 135 stationed?
That's a good question. I don't know where they came out of. They probably Thailand.
Okay.
I'm guessing there was a base south of Bangkok. Do you know the name of it?
Penang,
No, south of Bangkok. There was a base, and I think that's where these tankers came from.
Bill?
Yeah.
Did the plane that, was getting the gas go the speed of the fuel plane or vice versa?
No, you go the speed of the tanker.
Yes.
Utapao, that's it, you're right.
Yeah.
Utapao. This is Fingers Lake, which was in Route Pack 1, which was about. Oh, did it again. About right in here somewhere, you can see that. Up in this area. And like I said, I flew about 33 missions in Route Pack 1 and Route Pack 2. And they had, as soon as you cross the DMZ, you go from 37 millimeter ground fire to 100 millimeter ground fire, so big change. Never had a SAM fired at me down there, so I was lucky from that standpoint.
What's a SAM?
Missile.
Surface air missile.
Yeah.
And they had SAM 2s, which doesn't mean anything to you, but they were pretty lethal. There's a blurry picture of an F4 rolling in. And here's a bomb drop, and once again, I don't know how I got that picture taken. And the results. And here, like I said, do you think we didn't drop a lot of bombs up there? I figured it up on the 312 missions that I flew. I think I dropped 250,000 pounds of bombs.
Just think about arc light, Jesus.
did you hit anything?
You wouldn't know.
When we had a pack, yes. I got a cabbage cart once. So, that was. Anyway, this is, anybody remember the Tet Offensive in March of 1968?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Cameron Bay was tasked to put 8 airplanes together on each of the missions that they flew, and they would get in contact with AVCCC, the Airborne Command Post, and they would direct us on a site that they want us to go to, and give us a warning, you know, you're on final approach, and 10 seconds to bomb drop, 9, 8, 7, you know, just, okay, bombs away. And so we played B-52 for a while. That's about what that amounts to. Dropped a lot of loads.
B-52s carried a bunch.
Another selfie. Okay, another thing we did, you know, just for safety's sake, we would look each other over after we got airborne to make sure that all the weapons were on tight and secure. And then when we dropped our bombs, we would do the same thing. We would do a weapons check, make sure they were all gone, and that you didn't have a hung bomb somewhere that you had to be aware of. And then we had a little fun coming home, flying over the South China Sea as low as we could get, trying to blow over sampans.
Any luck? Perfect.
Here we're coming up on initial, pitching out, the runway, and the landing. And the F4, you had to have a drag chute to get slowed down. And this is hot pit refueling, where you leave one engine running and go ahead and they would refill you internally and with your tanks that you had. And then you'd go ahead and you'd either taxi to your parking area and shut down, or they could go ahead and reload you with another load of bombs if there was a reason to do that.
That's crazy.
All the bombs gone. Debrief. Okay, not me. I never took a hit. One of our guys was a little unlucky though.
Must have been a bird.
Yeah, big one. Okay, we had one day we weren't flying and we took a side trip, and the Army flew in a C-7 Caribou and picked about 3 of us up and took us up to a special forces camp in the middle of the country. Bambi 2. And there was an O-1, that's a forward air controller's airplane, and he was pretty brave because he flew around fairly low altitude looking for where the enemy might be, and then calling in strikes on them if he found them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like a Cessna.
And here is a picture of the camp. Landmines that they find out around in the area. And what the Bambi 2, what the Special Forces camp did was they protected a certain area around that camp. And that was basically their mission. Loaded for bear. Some of the local scenery around the camp. Water buffalo. Some of the, life goes on in the little town. Life goes on. We drop bombs. They just live their life. And here's the head of the camp with his beautiful pipe. I'd like to have taken that. Okay, I mentioned at the start that, the Quonset hut that we moved into was pretty bare. And we finally got approval to upgrade those Quonset huts. And one of the things we had to do, we had the self-help project of painting the exterior of the Quonset hut. And Forcor, they renovated the inside of our Quonset huts. You had a living space, and then you had 4 bedrooms off of that living space. And it was so much nicer than what we had moved into when we got there.
No air conditioning.
That's a finished product. And then, of course, we have a little artwork, our squadron, symbol was yellow and black, so we had to do that.
Nice door.
And, picture, it's kind of hard to tell what that, it's one of the rooms, it's kind of hard to get a feel for what that really looks like. But this guy here, Bob McCracken, he lives in, Oklahoma, Stillwater, Oklahoma. He was a wing commander, in the Air Force for, KC-135. And he's still going strong, so loves his OSU team. And more of our artwork, and unfortunately, the flash of the camera kind of clouded that up, so you can't really see what it looked like. How many pictures did I take anyway? A lot of me in
We were supposed to cut that one out, Bill.
there. Okay, this was, our Quonset hut was separate from the squadron building. And so we had to walk over to the squadron. This was our entry. We had a little downtime, playing guitars and stuff. And we got steaks from the Army. So that was wonderful.
Wonder if it's beef.
And then our leisure out on the beach, I always said that when this war is over, that beach is really gonna be a popular place, but
Boy,
I don't know why it never did, but it just didn't take off. Remnants of the Japanese, Oh. An airplane here, he accelerated, and I don't know, he had some sort of a problem and tried to abort. And he aborted too late, and he went off the end of the runway, and that's where he ended up. And both crew members got out, they were fine.
that's good.
And what we call the cherry picker, big enough to pick up an airplane and carry it off the runway. My friendly fighting force. And that, my friends, is it.
Bill, how many were stationed over there?
Say again?
How many were stationed over there?
Well, that lasted, what,
That's it.
9-10 years?
Yeah, 10 years.
And we had,
Turning
I
on this
meant
end or-
while you were there.
No, not
well, the base was full, so we probably had, including support and pilots and everything, probably 7,000-10,000 people. So, very few.
In
So
your
many-
opinion, Bill,
Say again?
I said, in your opinion, was it worth it?
Well, it would have been if they'd have let us win it. But they didn't let us win it, so that's what made it, so frustrating. It was all for naught.
So who was the we that wouldn't let you?
Johnson was one of them, President Johnson,
McNamara.
McNamara, yeah, those guys. They got directly involved in the war and, almost to the point of picking the missions that we flew, or at least what we could hit and what we couldn't hit, and all that kind of stuff, so. Pretty,
We came into Thailand on major strikes. When we came into Thailand on the major strikes, we form up, go out to the tanker, head to the target area. We would sometimes fly over, this is the area of South Vietnam. Anyway, the guy I was flying with one day said, look down at the ground. So I looked down at the ground, and there were airplanes taxiing out of their revetment areas onto the runway. There were MiGs. Those were the airplanes that were taking off to meet us on the way out as we drop our bombs to try and shoot us down.
so that was in North Vietnam, huh?
Yes,
Yeah.
down right back. Well, I'm trying to think of the name of the station. I can't remember, anyway, the frag order, that's the fragment of the order that applied to our particular unit, anyway. All of that was written in Washington by McNamara and his people, and we were forbidden from departing from the explicit orders of the frag. In other words, all we had to do was roll out and bomb, hit those runways
Yeah.
on the way in, and they wouldn't have been there when we came out. But that was the kind of craziness that prevailed during that.
Yeah, there, you know, that, just like I said, there, you know, there you can look down there and see them taxiing on the runway, and you can't attack them. And, we had one guy that was, pretty bold. He, I forget what airport it was, but it was in North Vietnam. He did a touch and go on one of the Vietnam runways, just to try to get him up, you know, get him to fly.
Hey, I'm here.
Kep was one of the airfields.
Huh?
Kep was one of the airfields.
No, I think that was where he probably went, yeah.
Another question?
I joined the Air Force in 1972 as a weather forecaster, and I would like to get your knowledge of the monsoon season. There were rainy seasons and dry seasons, and also an honest appraisal of how the weather support was for you. I can take it, you can tell the truth.
It was good. I mean, you know, they were pretty accurate. Now, I don't know whether you experienced the same thing or not, but the weather that we flew into was generally not violent. You know, we flew into a lot of thunderhead storms, but they were not where they're gushing up like that. They were more docile, I guess you'd say. And you could, at night, you fly into them and you see the St. Elmo's fire going off the side of the canopy. But, yeah, go ahead.
One of the difficulties was when the weather was good over in Thailand, so we could get off the ground.
Yeah.
It was monsoon weather in over North Vietnam, and vice versa. When the target area was clear, we had difficulty getting off the ground because of the bad weather in Thailand.
Yeah, you know, I remember, I also spent a year in Udon, Thailand, in the 13th Echelon. I didn't get to fly. And I remember the monsoon season there more than what I remember in South Vietnam. I don't know. It just doesn't stick in my mind.
But then again, in terms of his question, is was the support good from the weather people?
Oh, yeah, it was very
Yeah,
good.
no complaints.
Yeah.
Everybody complains about the weather.
Any other questions? So many memories.
Yeah.
So many stories.
Well, thank you all for coming. I appreciate your interest in my life and stuff.
And as we've learned to say, to live, to love, to learn, to leave a legacy. And Colonel, you certainly have done that. Thank you very much. I think we're adjourned, unless anybody has anything else. Question? You just make a brief comment. The whole idea.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We really wanted to have TED Talks to be